The clippers buzzed like a swarm of angry hornets, their cold teeth grazing Daniel's scalp before the first lock of his unruly brown hair tumbled to the linoleum floor of the kitchen in Aunt Lydia's cramped Queens apartment. "This is for your own good, boy," she hissed, her voice cracking like thunder over the Hudson, eyes wild with a mix of fury and fear as she pinned his shoulders against the chair with hands that trembled from years of factory work. In that instant, as the mirror across the room caught the raw vulnerability of his shaved head bare, exposed, a map of betrayal etched in pale skin, Daniel knew the family he'd clung to like a lifeline had just severed it clean. Blood trickled from a nick near his temple, warm and metallic, mixing with the tears he refused to let fall. But it was the silence that cut deepest, the absence of his mother's voice, gone too soon to cancer, leaving him to this woman who preached salvation through conformity. "You're not one of those abominations," Lydia spat, stepping back to survey her handiwork, the clippers dangling like a judge's gavel. "Not in my house. Not in God's eyes." Daniel's fingers dug into the armrests, knuckles white, as the weight of her words sank in. He wasn't just losing his hair. He was losing the illusion of home, the fragile threads of identity his small-town upbringing in upstate New York had already frayed. But in the hollow echo of that kitchen, with the scent of burnt toast lingering from breakfast and the distant wail of an ambulance slicing through the night, a spark ignited, not rage, but resolve. Daniel straightened, the chair scraping like a declaration of war, and met her gaze in the mirror's cruel reflection. "You can take my hair, Aunt Lydia," he said, his voice steady for the first time that evening. "But you can't shave who I am." And with that, he walked out into the humid July night of 2015, bald and broken but unbroken, the city lights of New York blurring into a promise of reclamation. The subway rattled beneath Daniel's feet like the unsteady beat of his own heart, each jolt a reminder of the fresh stubble prickling against his palm as he touched his head for the umpteenth time. He had nothing but the clothes on his back, a threadbare flannel shirt from his last shift at the diner, jeans worn thin at the knees from scrubbing tables, and the crumpled $20 bill Lydia had shoved into his pocket with a final, venomous "Don't come crawling back." The train lurched into Manhattan, spewing him onto a platform thick with the crush of evening commuters, their faces a mosaic of indifference under the harsh fluorescence. Daniel emerged into the neon haze of Times Square, where billboards screamed promises of escape and excess, but all he felt was the chill of exposure, his scalp tingling in the breeze off the theater district. He wandered, aimless at first, past the glow of TKTS booths and the laughter spilling from dive bars, until his legs carried him to the edge of Hell's Kitchen, where the streets narrowed and the air hummed with a different kind of energy, grittier, queer. A faded rainbow flag fluttered above a nondescript door, the words "The Stonewall Echo" etched in peeling paint. Daniel hesitated, the memory of Lydia's Bible-thumping sermons clashing with the pull of something deeper, something he'd buried under layers of denial since that awkward fumble with a farm boy behind the bleachers in high school. The door creaked open to a haze of cigarette smoke and indie folk crooning from a jukebox, and he stepped inside, the warmth enveloping him like an unexpected embrace. The bar was a relic, all scuffed wood and mismatched stools, patrons nursing beers and stories from a time when love like his was a crime. Daniel slid onto a stool at the far end, away from the cluster of men in leather vests swapping tales of ACT-UP rallies, his reflection in the mirrored back bar showing a stranger. Gaunt cheeks, eyes shadowed by exhaustion, head shaved to a defiant buzz that screamed, "Survivor, more than style." The bartender, a burly guy with a salt and pepper beard and a tattoo of Harvey Milk peeking from his sleeve, slid a coaster his way. "First time?" the man asked, voice gravelly but kind, like a uncle who actually gave a damn. Daniel nodded, throat tight. "Yeah. Family. Stuff." He didn't elaborate, but the bartender, Rico, his name tag read, didn't pry. Instead, he poured a draft without asking, foam spilling over like forgiveness. "On the house. We all got our scars up here." As Daniel sipped, the bitterness grounding him, a figure caught his eye across the room. Tall, broad-shouldered, with a mop of blonde curls that fell just so, laughing with a group at a corner table. William. The name floated to him later, whispered in the din, but in that moment, it was just the way the stranger's green eyes crinkled at the corners, alive with a joy Daniel had forgotten existed. Their paths crossed an hour later, when Daniel's stool wobbled under him, cheap beer hitting an empty stomach, and William's hand steadied his elbow, firm and warm. "Easy there, cowboy," William said, his drawl pure Texas transplanted to the city, laced with that easy southern charm that made Daniel's pulse stutter. Close, William was all contrasts. Freckles dusting a nose that had been broken once, maybe twice, lips curved in a half-smile that promised mischief, and a faded Yankees cap pulled low over those curls. "You look like you could use a real drink. Or a friend." Daniel blinked, the world tilting back into focus. Yeah. Both." They talked, or rather, William talked, spinning yarns about growing up in Austin, sneaking into drag shows as a teen, the first time he'd kissed a boy under the pecan trees and known it was right. Daniel listened, words tumbling out in fits. The diner job to pay for community college. Mom's chemo bills that left him orphaned at 19. Lydia's iron-fisted guardianship that turned love into a cage. "She found out," he admitted finally, voice low as the jukebox switched to something haunting by the Indigo Girls. "About me. Said it was a phase. A sin. Then the Clippers." William's face darkened, not with pity, but fire. "That's not family. That's control." He reached across the scarred oak, thumb brushing Daniel's knuckles, a touch electric, tentative. "But you're here now. That's the start." They closed the place down, Rico flipping chairs at last call. And when William offered his couch in a walk-up in Chelsea, no strings, Scout's honor, Daniel took it, crashing into sleep to the rhythm of rain on fire escape and the faint scent of William's cologne, like pine and possibility. Morning came in shards of sunlight through blinds, Daniel waking to the sizzle of eggs and the clatter of mugs. William moved through the galley kitchen like he owned the chaos, humming an off-key Springsteen tune, his tank top riding up to reveal a tattoo of intertwined vines snaking up his ribcage. "Roots and wings," he explained later, for the boy who'd run from home at 17. "Coffee?" William asked, sliding a chipped diner mug across the formica, black and strong, just how Daniel liked it. They ate on the fire escape, legs dangling over the alley, the city sprawling below like a lover's promise. William was a photographer, freelancing for indie mags, capturing the raw pulse of queer New York, the pride marches, the underground balls, the quiet dignity of elders at the baths. "You're good at this," Daniel said, gesturing vaguely at the walls lined with framed prints. A drag queen mid-twirl in the village, two men holding hands against a snowy Central Park backdrop. William shrugged, but his eyes lit up. It's about seeing people, really seeing. The stories behind the poses. That afternoon, William dragged him to a street fair in Washington Square Park, the air thick with falafel and folk guitars, and for the first time in years, Daniel laughed, real, belly deep, when William haggled over a beaded bracelet, slipping it onto Daniel's wrist with a wink. Protection charm. Against bad aunts and worse haircuts. But the idol cracked that evening. A call from Lydia's number flashing on Daniel's borrowed phone, William's spare, an ancient flip model. "Come home," she pleaded, voice stripped of venom, laced with something brittle. "I was wrong. Scared. Your mother's boy wouldn't throw it all away." Daniel's gut twisted, the bracelet suddenly heavy. He hung up, but the seed was planted. Forgiveness? Or just another shave waiting? William watched from the couch, sensing the shift. "You don't owe her your soul," he said softly, pulling Daniel down beside him, their shoulders brushing in the lamplight. No more words, just the quiet press of foreheads, the shared breath that said what tongues couldn't yet. Weeks blurred into a rhythm. Daniel crashing at Williams, picking up shifts at a coffee shop in Midtown where the baristas swapped coming-out stories over espresso shots. His hair grew in patchy, a soft fuzz that William teased him about, ruffling it with fingers that lingered. They explored the city like conspirators, midnight bike rides along the High Line, where the Hudson glittered like spilled secrets, lazy Sundays at the Strand, hunting dog-eared Ginsberg and Baldwin, stolen kisses in the shadow of the Bethesda fountain, tentative at first, then hungry, the world fading to the taste of salt and hope. William's touch was reverent, mapping Daniel's scars with lips and whispers, building him back layer by layer. Yet doubt gnawed. Lydia's calls escalated. Guilt trips wrapped in scripture. Promises of reconciliation if he'd just pray it away. Daniel wavered, the pull of blood stronger than he'd admit, until one crisp October night, William spread out prints on the living room floor, his latest series, Reclaimed, Portraits of Queer Survivors, a trans woman with ritual scars, a leather daddy who'd lost his partner to AIDS. And there, amid the faces, was Daniel, caught mid-laugh in the park, eyes alive, the buzz cut framing a face no longer haunted. "This is you," William said, voice thick. "Not her version. Yours." Daniel's chest ached, tears hot and unbidden. He pulled William close, their bodies aligning in the mess of photos, the kiss deepening into something unbreakable. A vow sealed in the click of a shutter, the flash of vulnerability. For the first time, he believed in reclamation, in love as the ultimate defiance. Winter clamped down on New York like a jealous lover, snow blanketing the sidewalks in deceptive purity, turning Chelsea's brownstones into gingerbread illusions. Daniel's hair had filled in enough for a proper fade, courtesy of Rico's barber clippers in the back of the Stonewall Echo. On the house, kid, call it interest on that first beer. And with it came a tentative armor, the kind that let him walk William's hand in his through the village without flinching at every sidelong stare. Their life together was a patchwork quilt of stolen moments. William's darkroom in the basement, red light spilling under the door as Daniel developed film beside him. Fingers stained with chemicals and possibility. Shared shifts at the coffee shop, where Daniel slung lattes while William sketched patrons in a battered moleskine, capturing the barista's defiant pixie cut or the tourist's wide-eyed wonder. But family, that unrelenting specter, refused to fade. Lydia's letters arrived like clockwork, postmarked from Queens, each envelope thicker with apologies laced with conditions. Come for Christmas, Danny. We'll talk. No clippers this time. I swear on your mama. Daniel read them by the window, radiator hissing like disapproval, while William brewed tea in the kitchenette, pretending not to listen. She's your blood, William said one night, after crumpling the latest missive. They were tangled on the futon, a threadbare blanket pulled high against the draft, William's curls tickling Daniel's neck. But blood don't mean chains. You choose your kin. Daniel wanted to believe it, but the holidays loomed like a guillotine. Upstate roots tugged. Memories of Mom's pine-wreathed table, the scent of gingerbread mingling with her laughter before the coughs stole it. He booked a bus ticket home in secret, telling himself it was closure, not surrender. William found out the night before departure, coming home from a gallery shoot to find Daniel's duffel half-packed, socks spilling like confessions. You're going. William's voice was even, but his eyes, those green depths, stormed. After everything? It's just a weekend, Daniel pleaded, zipping the bag with hands that shook. To say goodbye for good. I need to see her face when I tell her I'm done hiding. William paced the narrow room, boots thudding on the warped floorboards, frustration etching lines around his mouth. Hiding? Danny, you're not hiding here. With me. With us. The word hung, unspoken before us. Cracked something in Daniel, and he crossed the space in 2 strides, cupping William's face, thumbs tracing the freckles like constellations. This isn't goodbye to you. It's armor for us. They made love then, slow and fierce, bodies a language of reassurance. William's hands in Daniel's hair, now soft and curling at the nape. Daniel's lips mapping the vine tattoo, whispering promises into skin. Dawn came too soon, William walking him to the Port Authority in silence, their fingers laced until the last possible second. Call me, William said, pressing a key into Daniel's palm, not to the apartment, but a spare for the darkroom lock. Your space, too. Remember that. The Greyhound North was a purgatory of vinyl seats and stale air. Daniel's reflection in the window, a ghost of the boy who'd fled south 3 months prior. Syracuse greeted him with a bite of wind off the lake, and the cab to Lydia's row house felt like time travel. Same sagging porch, same Virgin Mary statue glaring from the lawn. She opened the door before he knocked, thinner than he remembered, gray streaking her bun, eyes red-rimmed like she'd been crying since summer. Danny, she breathed, pulling him into a hug that smelled of mothballs and regret. No clippers in sight, just a table set for 2, turkey thawing on the counter. The meal was a minefield. Lydia talked of church potlucks, Cousin Marla's new baby, anything but the elephant bald between them. Daniel waited, fork scraping plate, until the pie was served, apple, his favorite, crust flaky as memory. Why'd you do it, Aunt LYD? He asked, voice steady. The hair. The hate. She froze, knife hovering, then set it down with a clatter. I was protecting you. From hellfire. From them. The word dripped disdain, but her hands twisted in her lap, knuckles knob-bled with age. Your mama begged me, on her deathbed. Keep him straight, Lydia. Don't let the devil take my boy. I failed her once, letting you drift to the city. I couldn't again. Daniel's chest hollowed. Mom, fierce. Funny mom. Afraid of him? The lie stung worse than steel. You didn't fail her. You failed me. He pushed back from the table, chair legs screeching accusation. I'm gay. Aunt Lydia. Not a phase. Not a sin. It's me. And the city's not hell. It's home. She reached for him, tears carving tracks through powder, but he stepped back. I forgive you, he said, the words ash in his mouth. But I can't stay. Not like this. He left before midnight, bus idling in the snow-swept lot, Lydia's silhouette in the doorway a question mark. Back in the city by dawn, he let himself into William's building, key cold in his fist, climbing stairs on legs of lead. The apartment was empty, William at an early shoot, but the darkroom door yielded, red glow welcoming like a heartbeat. Daniel sank against the enlarger, photos pinned to lines above, their faces, intertwined, immortalized. He pulled out his phone, dialing, and when William answered, breathless, hopeful, Daniel whispered, I'm home. Spring unfurled in verdant defiance. Cherry blossoms dusting the paths of Bryant Park like confetti from a queer wedding. Daniel enrolled at NYU Extension. Night classes in photography under William's wing. His lens finding stories in the overlooked. The elderly couple tangoing in Tompkins Square. The street kid with a sign reading, will hustle for pronouns. William's exhibit at a Soho loft sold out. Reclaimed, earning murmurs of raw and revolutionary. Daniel's portrait the centerpiece. Titled Phoenix Crop. Critics called it intimate. To Daniel, it was love, captured in emulsion. But betrayal brewed in the shadows. Lydia's letters shifted tone. Please turning to warnings. Whispers of concerned family, sniffing around the city. Daniel ignored them until May, when a knock shattered the idyll. Cousin Eddie, Lydia's golden boy, all pressed khakis and pious smirk, standing on the stoop with a folder thick as judgment. Aunt Lyd's worried, Eddie said, breezing past as if invited. Heard you're shacked up with some photographer. Living in sin. She wants you back, Danny. Before it's too late. The folder spilled its venom. Printouts from fringe sites. Doctored photos of William at protests. Labeled agitator and worse. Affidavits from witnesses claiming Daniel was corrupted. Unfit for the family trust mom had left. 20 grand. Earmarked for his future. Now strings attached by Lydia's will. Sign this, Eddie urged. Pen extended like a sword. Renounce it all. Come home clean. Daniel's blood roared. Vision tunneling to the betrayal's core. Not just Lydia, but the whole web of kin, weaving lies to drag him under. William walked in mid-confrontation, camera bag slung low, face thunderous. Get out, he growled, voice low and lethal, stepping between them like a shield. Eddie sneered, fairy knight to the rescue? But William's stare was steel. This is his life. Yours is the sin, peddling hate for a payout. Eddie left with tail tucked, but the damage festered. That night, over takeout low main cooling on the coffee table, Daniel confessed the trust, the pressure. They think they own me. William pulled him close, arms a fortress. They don't. We do. But doubt lingered, a crack in the foundation, as Daniel stared at the ceiling, wondering if love could outrun blood's long shadow. Summer scorched the city into a pressure cooker, asphalt shimmering like a fever dream, the air conditioner in William's apartment wheezing its last as they stripped to shorts and shared a fan's miserly breeze. Daniel's classes wrapped with a portfolio review, professor calling his work visceral, unapologetic, and he celebrated with a rooftop party in Bushwick. Fairy lights strung between antennae, bodies swaying to a DJ spinning RuPaul remixes. William hoisted him onto his shoulders for a toast, their laughter mingling with the skyline's hum. Daniel's fingers threading through those blonde curls, heart swelling with the reckless joy of belonging. Yet the folder's poison seeped. Anonymous emails pinged Daniel's inbox. Sodom spawn. Your aunt prays for your soul, repent. He deleted them, but sleep fractured. Dreams of clippers morphing into spectral hands yanking him from William's side. Lydia called once. Voice a ghost. Eddie's lying. Danny. It's for your good. The money's yours if you pray with us. He hung up, blocking the number, but the rift widened. William noticed the way Daniel flinched at doorbells, scanned crowds for familiar faces, and it sparked their first real fight. Words flung like shrapnel in the sticky heat. You're letting them in your head, William shouted, pacing the living room, sweat beading on his collarbone. A freelance gig had soured, client balking at 2 gay shots, and frustration boiled over. Daniel, fresh from a shift, apron still tied, fired back. Easy for you to say. You ran from your Bible Belt folks at 17. I was 22, burying my mom, and they were all I had. The air crackled, unspoken fears surfacing. Abandonment, inadequacy. William stopped, chest heaving, and crossed to him, hands gentle on Daniel's buzzed temples. I know. God, I know. But we're building something here. Don't let them burn it down. Truce came in touches. Apologies murmured against skin, but the embers smoldered. August brought a heat wave that drove them to Coney Island, seeking solace in the salt spray and cyclone screams. They rode the Wonder Wheel at dusk, gondola swaying high above the boardwalk, the Atlantic a vast indigo promise. Remember our first night? William asked, arm around Daniel's waist, city lights winking below. Daniel nodded, leaning into him. The bar. You saved me. William's laugh rumbled. Nah. You saved yourself. I just tagged along for the view. Back home, the betrayal escalated. Eddie returned, this time with a notary, cornering Daniel outside the coffee shop as rain lashed the awning. Sign, or lose it all, he hissed, folder sodden but unyielding. Aunt Lyd's sick heart stuff. This'll kill her. Guilt lanced Daniel, visions of Mom's hospital bed overlapping, but he shoved the pen away. Tell her I'm done signing my life away. Eddie's face twisted. Triumph? Malice? And he left, but not before slipping a USB drive into Daniel's pocket. Proof. Watch it alone. That night, alone, William at a late edit. Daniel plugged it in. Screen blooming with grainy footage, him, at 18, drunk at a college party, kissing a guy in the shadows. Blurry, damning, time-stamped from a concerned friend's phone. The file ended with Lydia's voiceover. Recorded fresh. See what the city does? Come home, baby. Before they destroy you. Rage warred with sorrow. This was violation, a theft of his youth to fuel their narrative. He smashed the drive under his heel, shards scattering like trust. And when William got home, Daniel broke, sobbing into his chest, words tumbling, the video, the lies, the fear that family would never release its claws. William held him through the storm, rocking like a lullaby, then rose with fire in his veins. We fight this. Together. The next day, they met Rico at the Echo, The bar's back office a war room of legal pads and cold coffee. Rico, who'd lost his own brother to conversion camps, knew a pro bono lawyer from Lambda Legal, sharp-suited Elena, who pored over the trust docs Daniel had smuggled from Lydia's attic years back. Ironclad manipulation, she declared, glasses perched on her nose. We contest it. Expose the coercion, the shaving, the surveillance. Turn their weapon against them. The lawsuit filed quietly. Papers served to Lydia's door with a summons that read like absolution. Her response was a howl. A midnight voicemail. Eddie Proxy. Ranting of ingratitude and hellbound choices. But cracks showed church friends withdrawing. Whispers of scandal in the pews. Daniel, meanwhile, poured pain into art. A series titled Sheared, stark black and white prints of his reflection post clippers, layered with overlays of family photos, scissors motifs slicing through smiles. William hung the first in the apartment, beside his own work, a gallery of two souls intertwined. Fall painted the park in fire, leaves crunching underfoot as they walked the reservoir, hands swinging loose. William had a surprise. A ring, not diamond but silver, etched with vines matching his tattoo, simple, binding. Not marriage. Not yet, he said, kneeling on the path, joggers blurring past. But a promise. To reclaim, together. Daniel's yes was a breath, slipping the band on with fingers that trembled less now, the metal warm as vow. They celebrated at a quiet bistro in the West Village, candlelight dancing on wine glasses, toasts to futures unscripted. But climax brewed in November's chill. Lydia summoned them, neutral ground, a diner off the turnpike, fluorescent hum underscoring the tension. She arrived frail, oxygen tank wheezing, Eddie flanking like a guard dog. Daniel entered arm in arm with William, resolve stealing his spine. You came, Lydia whispered, eyes darting to their linked hands, then away. To gloat, Daniel shook his head, sliding into the booth. To end it. The trust's mine, no conditions. And the video, delete it. Or we go public, your church, your neighbors, all of it. Eddie's bluster faltered. Lydia's face crumpled, hands clutching the table's edge. I thought, God forgive me, I thought I was saving you. Her voice broke, a dam bursting, confessions spilling. Her own buried youth, a college crush on a roommate, shamed into silence by a preacher father. Mom's deathbed plea, not fear, but desperation to shield him from her regrets. I projected my ghosts onto you, Danny. Shaved my shame onto your head. The words hung, raw, a bridge of shared fracture. William squeezed Daniel's knee under the table, silent sentinel. Forgiveness flickered, not full flame but ember. I don't hate you, Daniel said finally. But I can't be your redemption. Be mine, let go. Lydia nodded, tears salting her coffee, and signed the papers Elena had couriered, Eddie's protests dying unspoken. As they rose, she touched Daniel's arm, hesitant, seeking. Your hair. It's grown back strong. He covered her hand with his. So have I. Driving back through the dusk. Wipers batting frost. William glanced over. You okay? Daniel exhaled, the weight lifting like fog. Yeah. Free. They pulled over at a rest stop, stars pricking the ink sky, and kissed against the car hood fierce, grateful. The highways hum a hymn to survival. December dusted the city in sugar. Holiday lights threading the bare branches like veins of light. But for Daniel, the season carried a new weight. Not dread, but possibility. The trust cleared escrow just before Thanksgiving. 20 grand deposited. A lifeline to tuition and rent. No strings but the ones he chose. Lydia's letters shifted to postcards. Neutral, tentative. A photo of her at church with a note. Proud of your exhibit. Praying for you both. No mention of sin. Just weather and recipes. A slow thaw. Eddie vanished. Rumor had it to a job in Jersey. His silence the loudest apology. Daniel and William dove into the frenzy of year-end gigs. William shooting a holiday spread for Out magazine. Fairy-lit portraits of queer families in Park Slope brownstones. Daniel assisting, his eye honing sharper, capturing a dad's awkward twirl with his trans daughter. The frame bursting with unspoken love. Their apartment bloomed, shelves sagging with photo books. A second-hand Christmas tree wedged in the corner. Ornaments scavenged from thrift shops. A glittered drag queen. A tiny Stonewall brick replica. They strung popcorn garlands to Ella Fitzgerald crooning carols. William's Texas twang mangling jingle bells, until Daniel dissolved in laughter, pulling him down amid the tinsel. Intimacy deepened in the quiet hours. Mornings tangled in sheets. William's fingers tracing the silver ring's path up Daniel's arm. Evenings on the fire escape. Sharing thermoses of spiked cider. Plotting futures. A joint exhibit. Maybe a move to a loft with actual walls. Kids, William mused once. Half joking. Sketching a cartoon family on a napkin. Daniel paused. Heart clenching at the image. Yes, someday. Adopted or surrogate. A circle unbroken. With you? Anywhere. But conflict simmered beneath the joy. William's freelance dried up post-holidays. Magazines pinching pennies. Gigs gonna slicker shooters, and tension crept in. Bills stacking like accusations. Daniel's coffee shop cut hours. The economy's chill biting deep. And arguments flared over takeout portions. We can't afford DoorDash every night. William snapped one blustery January eve. Slamming cabinets. Daniel, bone-tired from slinging drinks to tourists, retorted, then stop playing martyr. Use the trust money. We're partners. The word ignited. William's face paling. Partners don't pity. I won't be your charity case. Silence stretched, brutal as frost. William stormed out, camera in hand, vanishing into the night for a walk that stretched to dawn. Daniel paced, regret gnawing, replaying the barb. Pity? No. Partnership, equal in scars. When William returned, bleary-eyed, smelling of street pretzels and resolve, they collided in the hallway, apologies tumbling, bodies seeking solace. I'm scared, William admitted, forehead to Daniel's. Of losing this. Of not being enough. Daniel cupped his face, thumbs wiping snowmelt from lashes. You're everything. We'll hustle. Together. They did. William cold-calling galleries. Daniel pitching Sheared to podcasts. Landing a spot on a queer arts show that buzzed with shares. February brought a breakthrough, a joint residency at the Bronx Museum. 6 months of studio space. Stipends thin but steady. Packing became ritual, bubble wrapping prints. Labeling boxes hours. The ring glinting like talisman. Lydia sent a card. Congratulations. With a check for $500. For frames. No conditions. Daniel called her. First time in months. Voice steady. Thanks, Aunt LYD. Means a lot. Her pause. Then soft. I'm learning. Danny. Slow, but sure. The museum was a revelation. High-ceilinged lofts overlooking the grand concourse. Walls white as fresh starts. They claimed a corner unit. Easels abutting enlargers. The air humming with developer and dreams. Days blurred in creation. Williams' color series on urban resilience. Daniel's evolving reclaimed roots. Diptychs blending family relics with queer icons. Mom's locket beside a Baldwin quote. Lydia's Bible open to Leviticus, countered by a rainbow flag overlay. Nights, they collapsed on a futon hauled from the old place. Bodies spent but alive. Whispers weaving plans. A road trip west. Chasing Route 60 SIXS ghosts. Adopting a mutt from the shelter. Naming it Phoenix. Betrayal's echo resurfaced in March. A gallery email. Eddie's new gig. Curating a traditional values exhibit upstate. Sniping at their work in an interview. Flashy activism over art. William seethed. Drafting a blistering clapback. But Daniel reined him in. Let it go. We're rising. He's stuck. Instead, they channeled it into the show. Opening night in May. The museum thrumming with patrons. Critics in tweed. Activists in pins. Lydia arriving unannounced. Cane tapping tentative steps. She stood before Daniel's piece. The one with her Bible. Eyes glistening. Beautiful, she murmured, turning to him. Forgive an old fool? He did, pulling her into a hug. William hovering warm at his back. Eddie never showed, but his shadow faded further. The exhibit sold pieces, enough for a deposit on a one-bedroom in Harlem. Walls to echo their laughter. Summer hummed again, but softer now, roots sinking deep. Yet climax crested in July's haze. William collapsed mid-shoot, a gallery crawl in Dumbo, face ashen, breath ragged. Our lights seared. Arrhythmia, stress-fueled, docs prescribing rest and meds, a wake-up to the toll of their grind. Daniel sat vigil, hand in William's, monitors beeping like metronomes of fear. I pushed too hard, William rasped, for dripping slow. For us, Daniel shook his head, tears salting the sterile air. We pushed, but we're stopping. Now, recovery was a recalibration. Walks in Fort Tryon, slow as saunters, therapy sessions, joint, unpacking William's runaway scars, Daniel's shaved ghosts. Lydia visited, bringing pie and stories, her own therapy, a queer-affirming group at her church's fringe. Change is slow, she said, patting William's knee. But worth it, bonds mended, not flawless but flexible. By fall, they launched a podcast, Reclaimed Frames, interviews with survivors, voices from the margins, downloads climbing. Daniel's hair, now a tousled mop, caught William's fingers often, a habit turned endearment. One crisp evening, atop the museum roof, city sprawled golden, William knelt again. Marry me? For real this time. Ring upgraded gold vines, intertwined. Daniel's yes was a vow, sealed in sunset kiss. Autumn's palette deepened into winter's prelude, leaves surrendering to frost as Daniel and William's life wove tighter, threads of commitment pulling against the loom of uncertainty. The wedding planning was a queer symphony. No white veils or cookie-cutter chapels, but a ceremony at the Stonewall Echo. Rico officiating in a bedazzled vest. Guests a tapestry of found family, baristas from the coffee shop, gallery owners with paint-flecked hands. Lydia in the front row, clutching a handkerchief embroidered with rainbows she'd stitched herself. Vows exchanged under the bar's vintage sign. Words raw, Daniel promising to see you, always, through every lens. William vowing to hold your fire, even when it burns. Rings slid on. Simple bands etched with dates. July for Daniel's arrival, November for the promise, and the kiss drew cheers. Confetti of torn ticket stubs from old ACT Up flyers. Honeymoon was a road trip. Greyhound swapped for a rented Mustang, chasing the spine of America from New York to San Francisco. They detoured through Pittsburgh's steel ghosts, where William photographed mill ruins reclaimed by vines, Daniel capturing elders on stoops swapping depression tales. In Chicago, wind whipped off the lake. They danced in a blues bar, bodies close against the chill, whispers of forever amid sax solos. The Badlands tested them. Flat tire in a thunderstorm, lightning cracking like doubt. But they changed it laughing, mud splattered, hands linked over the jack. California welcomed with ocean roar. Big Sur cliffs I alter to wild love, camping under stars that felt like blessings. Back east, reality reasserted, podcast episodes stacked. But sponsors wary, too political, one exec demurred. Daniel's day job at a midtown ad agency, entry-level graphic grunt, clashed with William's adjunct gig at Pratt, schedules fracturing evenings into stolen halves. Arguments simmered anew. Over unpaid bills and unmet dreams. You're pulling away, Daniel accused one February night, snow howling outside their Harlem walk-up. William, exhausted from grading, fired back, I'm building us a future. You think lectures pay for rings? The door slammed. William to the darkroom. Daniel to the fire escape. City lights mocking their fracture. Betrayal's specter returned. Insidious. An email from an old college contact. Forwarding a blog post. Eddie's byline. Anonymous now. But venom clear. Queer art grift. How subsidized suffering sells. It dissected their work. Reclaimed as pity porn. Podcast as echo chamber. Proof attached. Pilfered drafts from Daniel's old email. Half-formed ideas twisted into caricature. William found Daniel hunched over the laptop. Face ashen. Him again. William's voice was ice. Daniel nodded. Fury coiling. He hacked me. Or paid someone. The violation chilled deeper than winter. Not just theft, but desecration of their shared narrative. They lawyered up. Elena from Lambda on speed dial, tracing the breach to a sloppy VPN in Jersey. Eddie confessed under subpoena pressure, resentment festering since the diner, a bid for relevance in conservative circles. It was just words, he whined in deposition, but the judge saw coercion's echo, fining him restitution. $5,000 to their nonprofit arm. Frames for all, funding workshops for queer youth. Lydia disowned him publicly. A letter to the Times op-ed. Family heals when we choose love over legacy. Her words, printed bold, public reclamation. The scandal, perversely, boosted them. Podcast downloads surged. Reclaimed touring museums, MoMA Fringe, then LACMA. But the rift with William lingered, mended in fits. Therapy unpacking William's fear of dependency, Daniel's terror of loss. Spring bloomed fragile. A weekend retreat to the Catskills, cabin by a stream. No signal, just axes splitting wood and bodies mending slow. I almost left, William admitted one dusk. Fireflies winking. Scared you'd wake up. See the real me, broke Texan. Not the hero. Daniel pulled him close. Stream gurgling assent. You're my plot twist. The best one. Summer 2018 marked a pivot. Daniel's solo show at the Whitney. Sheared and seated. A multimedia gut punch, videos of his scalp regrowth time-lapse. Audio of Lydia's confession layered over Baldwin readings. Interactive mirrors letting viewers shave digital selves. Opening night. Crowd thick with press. William beaming from the wings. Lydia dabbing tears beside Elena. A review in the Village Voice called it a humanistic triumph, where betrayal births belonging. Sales funded their dream. A co-op gallery in the Bronx. Echo frames. Space for emerging voices, trans poets, immigrant lensmen, elders with Polaroids of lost loves. Conflict peaked in August. A gallery donor pulling funding over controversial ties. Eddie's smear lingering like smog. William spiraled, drowning doubts in bar tabs at the Echo. Coming home reeking of regret. Daniel confronted him mid-rant. Words spilling. We're not invincible. But we're not quitting. The fight crested in tears. William crumbling. What if it's not enough? What if I drag you down? Daniel's response was action. Booking a spontaneous flight to Austin. William's roots. Facing the ghosts head-on. Texas heat baked them. William's childhood home, a ranch house sagging under live oaks. His folks, divorced, wary, met Daniel at the door. Hands extended tentative. Dinners were minefields. Dad's gruff questions on city life. Mom's sidelong glances at their rings. But cracks yielded. A barn tour revealing William's old Polaroid stash. Boyhood shots of pecan groves and secret kisses. A porch swing confession from Mom. I knew. Hoped you'd find safe harbor. By week's end. Hugs lingered. An invitation extended. Come back. Bring your art. Flight home. William slept on Daniel's shoulder. Peace settling like dusk. Fall brought harvest. Gallery opening packed. Walls alive with stories. A mural of shorn heads morphing to crowns. Audio booths whispering survivor tales. Lydia contributed a piece. Her stitching. Bible verses re-embroidered with queer affirmations. My reclamation, she said. Arm linked with Daniel's. Eddie wrote once apology email and signed check enclosed. Daniel cashed it, donated half to a shelter, the rest to their rainy day fund. Winter whispered of expansion, talks of fostering, a scrappy terrier named Scout joining the fold, yipping at squirrels from the gallery window. William's book deal landed. Through the Lens. Queer America unshuttered. Daniel editing margins. Their hands overlapping pages. The new year dawned crystalline. 2019 etching resolutions in frost-lace glass as Daniel and William's world expanded. Boundaries blurring into boundless. Echo frames thrived. A beacon in the Bronx, workshops drawing kids from the projects. Their Polaroids pinning dreams to corkboards. Evening salons buzzing with dialogue. Wine flowing freer than funds. Daniel's days split between curation and creation. His latest series intertwined a collaboration. Couples portraits. Vines linking forms. William's light painting shadows into stories. Critics hailed it romantic humanism at its core. But to Daniel, it was them, love as lens, focus sharp on the other's unseen angles. Lydia's transformation deepened. She relocated to a one-bedroom in Brooklyn, nearer the action, volunteering at a food pantry for queer homeless. Her cane traded for a subway MetroCard. Visits became ritual. Sundays at their table, pot roast yielding to vegan tagine. Conversations circling from scripture's thorns to grace's bloom. I see your mama in you, she'd say. Eyes crinkling. Stubborn light. Eddie surfaced sporadically, a wedding invite ignored, then a hesitant coffee meet. Amends mumbled over lattes. Daniel extended olive branch. Not embrace. Heal your own shears first. Progress. Incremental as seasons. Yet drama stirred in spring's thaw. A rival curator, slick Manhattanite. All venture capital and viral metrics poached their star artist. A young non-binary painter, with promises of Soho spotlight. Whispers accused Daniel of provincial favoritism. The Bronx a punchline in glossy mags. William rallied, organizing a counter-event. Roots over riches, block party with live projections on warehouse walls. Locals collaborating in real time. Rain threatened, but cleared to stars. Crowd swelling, families on stoops. Elders dancing haltingly. The painter returning mid-set, brush in hand. Media flipped, grassroots triumph. Headlines crowning their authenticity. Intimacy evolved. Two bodies familiar yet rediscovered. Touches mapping new contours. William's laugh lines deepening. Daniel's shoulders broadening from hauling crates. They fostered their first, Jamal, 14. Lanky with a sketchpad soul. Placed after a rough group home stint. Awkward at first. Jamal's silence is thick as fog. Scout circling wary, but patience wove bonds. Gallery field trips. William teaching darkroom tricks. Daniel sharing sheared scars over late-night cocoa. Family ain't blood, Jamal said one night. Pencil flying. It's the ones who stay. Lydia doted. Baking cookies laced with extra love. Her presence a bridge. Climax crashed in June. Pride's rainbow fever masking a storm. Williams' book tour hit snags. A southern stop canceled over lifestyle concerns. Echoes of his youth. Back home. Drunk on celebration beers. He unraveled. What if we're fool's gold? Shining but brittle. Daniel, fresh from marching, arm in arm with Jamal and Lydia, pulled him to the roof. City pulsing below. Brittle breaks. We bend. But words failed. William confessed to temptation. Flirtation at a book signing. Nothing physical, but the spark of old escapes. Betrayal's knife twisted. Not deep but drawing blood. I felt. Seen. Without the weight. Daniel reeled. Heart fracturing in the humid night. Am I the weight? Silence stretched. William's hand reaching. Recoiling. No. Never. It's me. Running from roots that choke. Dawn brought clarity. Therapy doubled. Sessions raw as exposed film. William unpacked the flirt as symptom, fear of stagnation, not dissatisfaction. Daniel voiced his terror. Erasure. The shave's echo in every doubt. Forgiveness wasn't swift, but earned. In small acts. William's daily notes. Grateful for your steady. Daniel's trust rebuilt. Brick by vulnerable brick. Summer healed in layers. They vacationed upstate, Lydia's old turf. Now reclaimed. Renting a cabin near Saratoga. Jamal splashing in creeks. Scout chasing fireflies. Evenings by the fire. Stories swapped. William's Austin escapades. Daniel's diner confessions. Lydia unveiling her college letters. Yellowed whispers of lost love. Jamal sketched it all. His portrait of them a gallery gem. For figures linked by vines. Faces fierce with quiet strength. Fall's harvest was abundant. Book launch at Echo Frames. Shelves groaning with copies. Readings drawing lines around the block. Daniel's TEDx talk, Reclaiming the Blade, Identity as Art, went viral. Invitations flooding for keynotes. Jamal's art show, Teen-focused, sold out, proceeds to scholarships. Eddie attended, uninvited but subdued, buying a print with a nod. Well done. No more words needed. Action sufficed. Winter wrapped them gentle, 2020 looming with unknown tempests, but their hearth burned steady. Christmas at the gallery, tree-decked in Polaroids, guests toasting marshmallows, Lydia gifting heirloom ornaments from Mom's attic, vines etched in silver. As snow fell soft outside, Daniel pulled William aside, mistletoe forgotten. "We made it," he murmured, ring catching light. William's smile, crinkled and true, "And we'll keep making." The story didn't end triumphant or tragic, but human, flawed, fierce, forward. Daniel's hair, long now, curled wild in the wind off Harlem's avenues, a crown he'd grown himself. Love wasn't reclamation's finish, but its constant frame, seeing, holding, blooming through every sheer and shadow. In the city's endless hum, they walked on, hands clasped, lenses lifted, identities unbroken.